Great to have you with us. Please like, subscribe, and share. Now, next to that, we've got, we're going to go back to this Kilmar Abrego Garcia, MS-13 gang member deported to El Salvador story, because we've got a couple developments. Van Hollen, the senator, has made his way down to El Salvador. Well, so we're going to cover that. But before we get to that, Stephen Miller was at it again. He is fed up with these idiot establishment propaganda media talking heads. He was outside the White House at their outside press briefing spot, and he had some very choice questions for the media entourage that I want you to see. And then we're going to get into some more of this Abrego Garcia story, because it gets even deeper. The web gets even stickier for all this. Before we do, please smash that like button, subscribe, turn on the notifications. Thanks so much for being here. If you like this, please share this content with everybody that you know. Let everyone you know that we are now at this channel, the Chris Highland Show. So we can get all our subscribers to come over here. That would be absolutely fantastic. So let's dive into this. Here we've got Stephen Miller in classic Stephen Miller form.
Let me ask you, what do you think would happen to him if he came back to this country? As your understanding of immigration laws, what do you think would happen?
But I'm just asking at this point about whether
you're asking a lot of questions.
The president,
you were all asking a lot of questions about this, and you all seem to care about it a lot. So let's see if any of you have researched anything about this issue at all. Can anyone here tell me what would happen to the illegal alien from El Salvador if he came back to the United States? Does anyone here know? Does anyone want to guess? Any of you?
He could be with his family.
Does any of you know the answer to the question? Legally, what would happen if he came back here? Does any of you know? Any of you?
Do you really believe the Supreme Court?
I'm talking.
Do you
now.
really believe the Supreme Court
doesn't? I'm talking now.
Doesn't think he
Does
should be
any
returned?
of you,
Why was it unanimous?
You're done. Does any of you know the answer to the question? Does any of you? You've been talking about it for days.
All would deport him again. No.
He would be arrested.
Okay.
He'd be put in confinement. He would be deported the second time to El Salvador again, because there's no withholding order for an alien who's a member of a foreign terrorist organization, number one. Number two is the gang that he's a member of doesn't exist in El Salvador anymore. So what you're asking for is to be deported twice. But additionally, if we chose to just pretend that the withholding order was real, he would be deported to a different country. So, for example, he could be deported to Egypt. So I'm just trying to understand, is it your view, in other words, you define a country that will be willing to take a MS-13 member from El Salvador. So I'm trying to understand from you all is, so if he came back and under our laws, he was then deported to Egypt or to Somalia, would you then be saying, great, I'm so glad that you deported him to another country? Is that what you'd all be saying? Like, do you understand our immigration laws at all? But the premise of your question, the gentlemen, the return, guys, do you know the difference between a deportation order and a withholding order? Do you know the difference? Any of you, please. You.
Well, we're not in the government.
But you couldn't even spend 72 hours over the weekend learning the distinction, even though you've been writing and talking about it this whole time.
Stephen, we're not going anywhere. On
just,
the gold cards.
Just raise your hand. Does any of you know the difference between a deportation order and a withholding order?
My question is, how do you know that? Absolutely classic Stephen Miller. Does any of you know the difference? Oh, we're not in the government. You couldn't spend 72 hours on Google. Google, what is the difference between a deportation order and a withholding order? It's not that hard. These people are complete morons. The establishment propaganda media is out there to do nothing but spin and push a narrative that has been handed to them from somebody above them. This goes all the way back to the globalist cabal of corruptocrats. This starts in that group. The establishment has nothing to do with the truth. They don't care about the truth. They don't embrace the truth. They don't even like the truth. They want to spin their lies, and they want to base everything on that. They have been gaslighting you for days. The quote unquote Maryland father is a member of MS-13. He has been implicated in human trafficking. The web gets even deeper, which we'll see in a few minutes. He was legally deported. He had 2 deportation hearings and a deportation order. But I love what Stephen Miller said at the beginning. What do you think will happen to this person if he actually comes back to the United States? Let's say Bukele says, hey, U.S., we want to save face, so we're shipping Garcia back to you. The U.S., based on the Supreme Court decision, must facilitate his return. Okay, the administration would say, sure, send him back. Put him on a plane. We'll send a plane down, whatever you need. He would show up somewhere in the United States. They would probably, most likely, fly him to Texas or some other border state. The moment he stepped off the airplane, he would be arrested and incarcerated for being an illegal alien under a deportation order, also subject to the Alien Criminal Sedition Act. And so he would be immediately incarcerated and, as Stephen said, deported again. Most likely to El Salvador, because the withholding order does not apply when someone's identified as a member of a foreign terrorist organization. But even if they pretended that he wasn't and the withholding order was still there, they would ship him somewhere else. They would send out a note, anybody willing to take an MS-13 gang member, and they would get some country to say, sure, if you pay us enough, we'll take him. Egypt, Venezuela, Chile, Guatemala, I don't know. He's going somewhere. He's not staying in the United States, which makes this next clip so laughable as we dive into Van Hollen, who has now traveled to El Salvador to try to effectuate the release of this criminal illegal alien. Check this out.
I just landed at the airport in San Salvador a little while ago. I'm now en route into the city. Looking forward to meeting with the team from the American Embassy. And I do thank our Foreign Service officers and the whole team at this embassy and embassies around the world for all the good work they do on behalf of our country. I'm proud to co-chair the bipartisan Foreign Service Caucus that stands up for the men and women who are serving our country overseas and at home in the State Department. After that, I hope to meet with some high-level government officials from El Salvador. As I said before, the goal of my visit is to talk to people here about the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I told his wife and his family I would do everything possible to bring him home, and we're going to keep working at this until we're successful. I also hope to have the chance to meet with him, but we'll have a better idea if that works out a little later on.
He's never coming home. That's the whole point of Stephen Miller, laying out exactly what's going to happen procedure-wise, even if he does come back to the United States. Now, I personally think, I could be wrong, I guess I'm kind of hoping it, that the Bukele administration in El Salvador tells Van Hollen to go pound sand. We're not meeting with you. You can go meet with the embassy all you want. They didn't deny him entry, so he's there in the country. They should tell him, hey, go meet with your embassy all you want. Go have dinner, stay in a hotel, have fun. You're not going to the prison, and we're not meeting with you. So have a nice life. Because Bukele already said he is not going to not going to remove Abrego Garcia. He's not going to smuggle him back into the United States. And even if he does, quote unquote, release him back into U.S. custody, that just means he's going to be immediately incarcerated and redeported. So this idea that he's going to end up back with his family is a complete and utter falsification. It's false hope. It's a pipe dream. It's never going to happen. Now, as I said, this story gets even stickier, this web surrounding Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Now, his wife has been out on the stump, saying, she's fighting for her husband, blah, blah, blah. Now, but this is very interesting, considering the fact that it has now been uncovered that you've got another problem with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Not only has he been in the country illegally, not only has he been identified by El Salvadorian intel, by the Department of Justice as an MS-13 gang member, not only was he arrested with other MS-13 gang members, not only has he been identified as having been in danger from a rival gang in El Salvador that now no longer exists, hence the withholding order, but now we find out that his wife successfully, she twice brought charges of domestic abuse and at least once successfully got a protective order against Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Jennifer Vasquez's allegations of serious domestic violence by El Salvadoran deportee Garcia were made more than once in addition to petitioning the court successfully in 2021 for a protective order, she also filed receivable in 2020. So twice she has filed for orders of protection against her husband for domestic violence. So now we know that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was here illegally, is implicated as a member of a foreign terrorist organization, MS-13, has been, and that's from both El Salvadoran and U.S. intelligence sources. That's now almost a subject of settled fact. He has been implicated in human trafficking, and now, according to a court twice, there is serious credible evidence that he is guilty of domestic violence, hence a protective order for his wife. This is just nuts. Now, I want to dive into the rest Stephen Miller press conference outside of the White House. You're going to love this because, again, he just goes to town on these people. Do not let the establishment propaganda media gaslight you any further. If MSNBC, CNN, CBS, ABC, if any of them are talking, they're lying.
Gentlemen, the return, guys, do you know the difference between a deportation order and a withholding order? Do you know the difference? Any of you, please. Do you?
Well, we're not in the government.
But so you couldn't spend 72 hours over the weekend learning the distinction, even writing and talking about it this whole time.
Stephen, we're not going anywhere. On the
Just
gold cards.
Just raise your hand. Does any of you know the difference between a deportation order and a withholding order?
My question is, how do you know that he's a member of MS-13? The White House has repeatedly said according to intelligence.
According to our government and his government. In other words, his government has confirmed with their own intelligence that he's a member of MS-13. First of all, do you dispute that he's an illegal alien?
What's that?
Do you dispute that he's an illegal alien?
No.
Okay. And do you dispute that as an illegal alien, we have the right to deport him?
Going through
And he went through the legal process. So I want to be very... Okay.
Exactly. It is settled fact. He is here illegally. Therefore, we have the right to deport him.
What I'm getting from this conversation, which is educational for me, is that not one person in the media knows the difference between a deportation order and a withholding order. Is that a fair statement? You're learning about this all for the first time right now?
Not one person in the media, frankly, knows the difference between their hand and their backside. Let's be honest. These are talking head propaganda idiots. They are there to push a narrative. They have memorized talking points. They frankly know nothing.
I guess so. Okay. So the deportation order means the judge has said he must be deported from the country. He has no right to remain here any longer. He must be removed from the country. So his only options are to be deported to his home country or another country. That's it. There's no other option. He doesn't get to stay here. He doesn't get to live here. He has no future here. He has no right to be here. He's an illegal alien. So when you keep saying return...
Again, this goes back to the fact that the propaganda media is gaslighting you. They are lying. He is under a deportation order. I love what Stephen Miller said there. According to the courts, he must be deported. Not you can if you want to. No. He has a deportation order. He must be deported. There is no option. And now he must be deported to the most convenient country, which would be his country of origin, since A, he is a member of a foreign terrorist organization which voids the withholding order, and the gang that he was supposedly in danger of no longer exists in El Salvador. So you have a twofold reason why the withholding order is now void. So you deport him back to El Salvador. But in any case, you deport him. So no matter what, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is never, ever going to live in the United States for even a day again as a free man. The minute he shows up, if he ever does, he will be incarcerated. These people want you to believe a lie.
You've been spun up by the open borders advocates. You all seem to be operating under the illusion that he would be able to come to the United States and just continue to live here illegally. It's not an option available to him. His only choices in life are to live in El Salvador or to live in another country. That's it. There's no other option, legally or otherwise, because he came to our country illegally. Do you understand that?
Stephen, can I ask, as a matter of policy, does the administration believe
that immigration judges, because they're under DOJ, that their orders can be overruled by what the administration wants? Is that a general matter of policy?
Well, actually, so specifically, is the Attorney General has authority to overrule the immigration courts. That's actually the statute. Yes. That's the question. Steve, on the
Exactly. The immigration courts are an an Article 2 executive function. They are not part of the judiciary. They are not part of the judicial branch, Article 3. Immigration courts are like all of the other administrative courts that have been set up for the various agencies. They are executive branch, Article 2 functions. Therefore, Pam Bondi can disregard any immigration court that she wants to. Now, she cannot willy-nilly disregard a district judge, a federal district judge. I say they should, because when you issue an unlawful order, it's unlawful. But anyway, so yes, the immigration courts are subject. They are under the auspices of Pam Bondi. But again, I love what he says. He's pounding this in. Under no circumstances will Abrego Garcia ever live here again.
Gold card. President and Secretary Lutnick have suggested they're lining up applicants already. How many people do you expect to be tagged to this program when the president announces it this week, if he actually announces it this week?
I'll let Secretary Lutnick.
All right, so we have now gone over to the gold card, which evidently they've already sold like 1,000 of them. $5 billion worth of gold cards. Anyway, so I wanted you to see that because Stephen Miller is once again in rare form schooling the media on just how bad they are, and also educating the American public on exactly what's going on here and how badly the media has lied, how badly the Democrat congressional delegation and people like Senator Von Huff are lying to you. This man is never coming home. He may set foot on American soil again, but it will only be to be incarcerated and redeported. This is absolutely an open and shut case. It is done. As they say in many cases, asked and answered.